besties, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Bon Voyage Besties, your go to podcast for all things travel, planning travel, spending money on travel, which I do all the time. My credit card really hates me this year. Reminiscing about travel, we have everything. So buckle up because today we're headed to one of Europe's best kept secrets and somewhere that I'm actually going to go to this summer, which is Luxembourg. Yay! So, who better to take us there than someone who has made it her life's work to find the most beautiful, most delicious, and most unforgettable corners of the world? Today, we're joined by Kateryna, a Toronto based travel photographer, writer, and content creator, and honestly, the kind of person whose Instagram makes you want to book a flight immediately. She specializes in midpoint to luxury travel, food, and drink, and her stories have graced the pages of publications around the world, which is really, really cool. She's also the founder of not one, but two incredible platforms, Pass the Travel Magazine and QuitMag.com. So, safe to say, she knows a thing or two about selling a great travel story. So, let's give everyone a big welcome to Kateryna. Welcome to the show. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you, Rachel and Rosa. Lovely to be here. I'm excited.
I'm super excited for this episode. I personally haven't been to Luxembourg, so I'm always looking for a new destination to add on to my bucket list.
It's definitely one you need to visit.
Yeah, I'm super excited to go this summer. This is actually, believe it or not, the second time I'm going. When years and years ago, like longer ago than I like to think about, when I was 25, as like a weekend trip from Belgium. And then one of my really good friends actually is from there. We met on a food tour in Osaka, so I'm visiting her this summer. So this will be the second time that I'll have the pleasure of going to Luxembourg. So super excited. But before we get into how amazing of a destination it is, we want to know more about you. So what sparked your love of travel and how did you turn it into a career?
To think about this one a little bit, and I think all paths kind of took me back to my first really big international trip. My sister and I went to the Azores in Portugal, and it's just such a beautiful part of the world that really captures you in with the different, the scenery and the food, and the people are really nice, although you seldom see them on the islands. And so that kind of resulted in my first ever blog post, because it was also a little bit difficult to plan, it being not a super popular destination. It is more popular now, but still a little bit, I think, under the radar. And so I ended up writing a whole series of posts about how to go there, and that just spiraled into where we are now.
So awesome. I feel like that's true for so many of us, just like writing a travel blog from the joy of travel and having it spiral from there. I know for me, I was laid off from my very first teaching job and went on this 7-week backpacking trip and then wrote a blog post. And then it just kind of spiraled and became this thing. I don't even know.
Way to leave your life behind.
Absolutely.
You're like, I'm going to
Absolutely.
start a new adventure.
Yes.
So I know, like I mentioned at the beginning, I personally haven't been to Luxembourg, but I was like reading online and doing a little research before the episode. And I was like, wow, it's a really small country in comparison. I mean, we're in New Jersey where there's like, what, like 9 million people. And apparently the population is like less than 700,000 people, which is like insane to even think about that
That's my
because I feel
county right there.
same. I have more people in my county than Luxembourg
Yeah,
has
same here, same here.
in
I
its
think when I
country.
last checked, it was 800,000 in mine.
Yeah, I think we have a little over 900 in mine. So it's wild. But one of the things I personally like are these smaller countries, right? Because I feel like it's a little bit easy to kind of immerse yourself. So what would you say surprised you the most when you first traveled to Luxembourg?
I want to say, honestly, the architecture, it was the combination of the interior old city part of it, because a lot of it is used to be a walled city. And then once you leave the core of it, where the Dutchy live, you get into these suburban neighborhoods where the regular people live. And those neighborhoods are almost kind of like in a circle, and there are 2 to 3, maybe 4 stories max, houses that have 2 to 3 apartments per floor. So they're very small, and they're very modern and kind of like clean compared to everything super historic inside. So that was kind of like a little bit of a stark experience at first. But the other cool thing about it is also they have free transit through the entire country. So you'd think that it's like one of the wealthier countries out there because that's where the money lives, but it's more important than the banking for people, especially like us who like to see things. And you can just move around the city without needing any sort of cars or passes or anything like that, not just the city, the whole country.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. I wish New Jersey had that.
Same for Toronto.
I know. That would be so nice. I remember my friend mentioning something about the free public transportation and then just feeling so low key jealous because we have some in New Jersey, but I always like compare it to countries in Europe that are of a similar size. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I really wish I had that. But when I was in Luxembourg, we spent a lot of time in Luxembourg City, so the wall city. So we didn't have too much time to get out into the suburbs, although, like, I know I need to see more of it. Like, it's such a small country that I think, oh, like Luxembourg City, I've seen everything. But like the reality is there's so much more to like dive into.
Honestly, there is, and there are quite a few interesting cocktail bars and restaurants that are on the outskirts. So you kind of have to make it almost a destination to go there. There are some. I met one of the bartenders from Luxembourg competed in world class global finals last year, and I met him here in Toronto. So next time I'm there, my mission is to find the suburb that his amazing cocktail bar is.
I'm ready to go on a field trip now just for that. Yeah, Luxembourg City, it's also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So, where did you feel that history hit you the hardest when you visit it?
In the Grand, and I'm going to guess that's going to be the same for you. So the way the city is situated, it's kind of like a circle star, and in the middle is the part that used to be Walled City. It's been destroyed many, many years ago, but it's sunken below the majority of the downtown and even below where the castle is. And you can kind of walk around it on a pathway and get a really beautiful view on the narrow, curvy passages. And there's a river and just all these beautiful roofs. And then you can either take the elevator or walk down into it. But if you take the lift, it's super wild. You just open up and you're in this whole other town. It's like a town inside a town. So that would probably be like the biggest part of it that feels super ancient. And that's actually the part that is the UNESCO Heritage Site.
That sounds pretty cool, though. I know we talked about it in one of our other episodes. It's like when you're visiting these UNESCO World Heritage Sites, it's a great way to kind of transport yourself to that period of time and you kind of soak in the history. One of the things I personally like to do whenever I'm traveling to a new destination, I like to go to like local museums as well, because I feel like that's a great way to kind of get to know a little bit more about the history, about the city. So, what would you say are like some must visit museums that visitors that are traveling for the first time should not miss?
There are actually quite a few of them, and personally, I don't like to go to more than 2 per day, just to kinda not to museum myself out. A lot of their museums are also free on different days and in different evenings. The one that I think surprised me the most would be the Luxembourg City History Museum. It sounds really dull, I know, but it was actually super surprising. It's multiple floors, and it does have the history of the country, which a lot of it is quite surprising if you just even look at the pictures, not read everything. But their exhibitions are really interesting and they have special exhibits that they bring in there. Last time I was there, it was an exhibit on Babel, which I haven't given much thought to. But if you kind of think about this mythological universal language, that was very immersive. And then they have different kind of like hands on experience you can do with it. Inside the museum, one of the walls of the museum is the original history, like the original city wall as well. So the city does a really good job integrating those into different parts. Like the other historic, not technically a museum because it's tunnels, is the actual city walls. So you can go under the museum through a different entry and go through the city walls inside. And then you get these like windows that you can look into the ground from a different perspective. It's really cool.
That sounds pretty awesome. It kind of makes me think a little bit of when I went to Dubrovnik in Croatia and you go through like the old town and you're walking inside like the city walls and everything. And like you would look out the windows and you have like views of the city and other areas you have view to like the coast, which was like really beautiful to see. And like just to think like how old these structures are, right? Like the history behind it is pretty amazing.
Definitely. They do have a few different new ones. Quite a few of them are in the city. Like they have an anthropology and art museum, and they have this really popular one that's more modern. It's called Madame. And it's a little bit on the outskirts. There's like a really fun, beautiful garden with a maze near it. So that would be kind of a more interesting modern exhibitions. It's just a really interesting building. They do events in there too. So that's a cool space to go to, take a little break, but like looking at art and have a glass of wine.
That sounds like so much
Perfect combo.
fun. That sounds so fun. I feel kind of bad because the last time I was there, I did miss like all the museums. We did a lot of walking around and kind of exploring, but I definitely feel like I need to go to a museum or two on my next visit because, like I said, I like totally feel like I miss the outskirts. And again, we were only there for 2 days, so not a ton of time to see and do everything. But yeah, sitting there with a glass of wine and admiring art sounds like a great way to pass the time, especially after sightseeing all day, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I hope you get more time during this visit.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be there for 4 or 5 days. So a lot more time, which will be great because the last time it was super fast. And like I said, we came from, where did we come from? From Denat, I think. So we had to like do a train switch. Like I know like getting there wasn't like hard, but it did take some time. And this time around, I'm just flying directly into the city. So I know they have like a cute little airport that I'm excited to see because I've never actually flown into Luxembourg.
It's been they've been doing some upgrades on that airport, so it's been year by year a little bit more renovated. And once you come out, you have to make sure to take a picture in front of their sign, and it just says "Moyen," which means hello in Luxembourgish.
So cool. You can Photoshop me in the back.
God, I will.
Brain cut out.
Yes, yes. We'll Photoshop you in. We'll Photoshop you in. I think that would be really, really fun. And then we'll tag the Bon Voyage Besties Instagram.
There you go. I already have FOMO. I was like, take me with you.
Yeah, but like the airport, like I actually, this is going to make me sound silly, but I was surprised with the airport that there were so many like flights around Europe. Like I'm flying right from Italy and it's a direct flight. And then to go home, I'm going to take a flight to Geneva. And I know there's flights to Frankfurt as well. So actually, like getting to Luxembourg, even though it's a small country, it is really accessible once you're in Europe itself.
Definitely a lot of direct flights from different places. I've also taken a train from Paris in there too.
For sure. So, with Luxembourg, something that Rosa and I talk about all the time is food. We love food on this podcast. I feel like I chat about food nonstop. I'm always on the Michelin guides looking at restaurants that I really don't have the money for right now, but that is okay. When in Luxembourg, what is one dish that every first time visitor should at least try?
There are actually quite a few, but funny enough, they didn't really talk about food a ton. There are culinary scene is very influenced by the neighboring countries, so you'll get very like German things like sausages and dumplings, and surprisingly, they're actually quite famous for their carpaccio and prosciutto locally made. The one thing that I go for is what they call, I guess, the easiest way to say it would be a Riesling pate, and it's this pastry. It's kind of like shaped like this with a little circle on top and an opening, and it's flaky dough, and inside you have pate in Riesling jelly. So that's what the hole is for, because that's how the jelly gets poured in there. And it was created by a local winemaker to be an accompaniment to a glass of wine. So that's like the actual national pastry out there.
Sounds
It's super
delicious.
tasty.
That sounds so good.
Rachel, you're going to have to bring me some.
I found a recipe online that I have been trying to brave myself to make at home for about 6 months now, but one day.
Well, you try it out and then you can share with us. It sounds amazing because, like Rachel said, I mean, we love traveling to new destinations, trying the local cuisine. One of the things I actually enjoy doing too is trying like different wines from the different regions. So I know you mentioned some wine. So what would you say are some must visit areas in Luxembourg for someone who's into the wine scene?
There are quite a few wine bars across the city. Some of them are quite small. Like their bar scene changes a little bit here and there depending on what's opening. But I would recommend getting in a car and driving out into the wine country. We did it even on the first year once my sister moved there. And it's really amazing. It's only about a half an hour drive and you just kind of end up there. It was very surprising. We were driving and driving, and next thing we know, everything around us is vineyards. And it was, I think, about late May. So everything was just really vibrantly green. Both of us got out of the car and just looked around quietly for a few minutes. They produce a lot of really interesting local varietals, but a lot of Riesling naturally because it is on Massal River, which goes all the way through France and Germany. So there are a lot of other regions that kind of line next door to it. So you can do these wine tours and just pop in and out of different countries and try one when in, let's say, Luxembourg and Germany. And we accidentally went into Germany because we took the wrong turn. Everything is just that close. So a lot of white wines is what they do, but the main specialty is actually Cremant, which is sparkling wine that you can also buy in France. But Luxembourg is what they swear by. So anywhere you go, Cremant will be at the top of the list.
Sounds
Sounds like so
amazing. And I love like
fun.
too like vision I just have like in my head of just like wandering around and seeing like all the vineyards and all the greenery. I mean, we're very fortunate in like New Jersey, like even like New York, there's a lot of really cool like wineries, but it's something so special when you're traveling to a new destination and just kind of seeing like all the open land. And like you said, like one wrong turn and you end up in Germany. Like, you know, you can just go like wine hopping in different countries. It sounds amazing.
You definitely can. You know, their wineries are a little bit different. You sometimes you think you've seen one, you've seen them all, but it's not the case. Like you go to France, you go to different places. A lot of wineries out there, they also have concrete tanks, which is the first time I've seen one of these. The hole is the size of a person because that's the person who needs to go in there to clean it, but it's about the size of like an average condo in North America
My
inside.
God.
And that's where the wine goes sometimes now for transport.
Oh my
So you can
God.
peek into one of those. Pretty much all of them are really scenic, but there's this one, because if you want the views, and Rachel, you and your friend are going to make a reservation. I'm sure she knows how.
Oh, yes.
It's called Domaine Henry Rupert, and it's at the top of the hill. So as you drive up to it, you get this like really modern geometrical building. And once you get at the top, they have a little terrace with a pool, and the tables are around it to do your wine tasting. And it just looks over the entire valley. And of course, there's a bathroom with a floor to ceiling window, so you get the most scenic potty break.
It's like a bathroom with the view. It reminds me of this winery I went to in Douro Valley when we went to Portugal. And it was like in a really charming, like vintage home too. So I went to the restroom and it had a beautiful view of like the vineyards and like you see the grapes and it was just beautiful. And I'm just like standing there, just like watching everything. And then I finally come back out and my husband and daughter were like, "Are you okay?" And then I was like, "Why?" They're like, "You were gone for like 20 minutes."
God.
I was just admiring the view. They're like, "From the bathroom?" I was like, "Trust me, you're gonna go and you're gonna see what I'm talking about."
My God, that's so funny. It reminds me of when I went to London, the Shard. We went to the Tippy Top, and the bathrooms at the top of the Shard, they overlook London. So you have this entire skyline view. And I remember just sitting there being like, I can see the Tower of London as I'm peeing. It was just like blew my mind. And it was the same thing. I was just like in there, like for at least 10 minutes, like looking around.
It sounds
Unique.
amazing. So aside from the scenic, you know, restrooms in the vineyard areas, what other places are a must, especially for a first-time traveler?
It's a small country with a lot to see. So depending on how much time you have to spend there, this is also kind of like one of the reasons why it is recommended to have a car to drive through the wine regions, of course. But there are also like 70 plus castles in
Wow, that's a
Luxembourg
lot.
together. It really is. I think on a single day, you can maybe hit up like 3, maybe 4, but they're all around. So you need to kind of almost do like separate trips. A few of them are, of course, kind of like ruins on the ground that you wouldn't necessarily be able to like see what the life could have been in that like. But a lot of them are still fully together structures that you can come inside and do a tour. One of the big ones actually, I think, does like dining experiences in it. So I definitely recommend dedicating a day or two to go see the castles. There is in the city a cool place that's like their athletic center. It has a really funny name that I will only spell out. It's COQ.
Got it.
And
They're 18 and over, I think.
I mean, of course, like if people go there to exercise, there is a huge spa in there. It is fully nude. So if you're ready for that, you could go. But outside of it is this massive maze with a yellow staircase that you can take up and look around at the maze. It's like a less touristy place to hang out as well.
That sounds really nice. Like I always like love a good spa day. I said this on another episode that we did about wellness travel. I feel like the older I get, the more I want to like do spa treatments when I travel, and I was never like that when I backpacked when I was younger, but now I'm just like, "Oh, I could use like a facial. I could like sit in a hot like sauna for a little bit." It is like really nice, especially when you're on the go. But to pivot back to the castles, because I love castles. I've been reading a lot of fantasy novels lately, so my mind has been on castles. Are there any that like really stand out, say if a visitor's going to drive and can only make like 1 or 2 castles that they should prioritize?
So bring a change of clothes and be your own princess in your own fairy tale
That
in one
sounds
of those
fun. Like you can
castles.
just like run around like the lawn or something, Rachel. Pretend like you're a princess.
Yeah, wish I had the bank account of one.
Yeah.
Just like
Well, you can
cosplay,
manifest.
cosplay and pretend I have money, like at a castle in Luxembourg. Like, how bougie is that?
It's all about context. Depending on how you take that photo, you might look like you live there.
Yeah, for sure, for
Exactly.
sure.
Fake it till you make it,
Yeah,
they say.
right.
Exactly.
It's all about confidence.
Few interesting ones are it's going to be really hard to pronounce. It's Est sur Castle, and there's a little village that goes around it. So there are a couple of square towers that look at each other, and a really beautiful structure in the tower. But it's just really cute. It's medieval with a little wall around it. The Vanden is very popular. Vianden, I believe is the correct spelling, and the Bershad Castle, and that's the one that is the most intact that you can go inside for a tour.
Very
That sounds
nice.
pretty nice. And the fact that you can do like the tour, that's pretty cool too.
If you have extra days, you can head up Belgium next door and see more castles.
Yeah, and it's true what you said about the tour. It does like add context because I know like when I've been to different castles in Europe and just kind of walked around on my own, I didn't get the same like context at all. But my mom and I, we went to a castle on our last trip to Europe. It was in France and it was kind of on the outskirts of Annecy. And if we didn't have that tour, we would have like lost so much. So it is nice when they're a bit more intact and there's a tour included in the ticket to get inside.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I love that. Renting a car sounds like a good idea. Luxembourg City itself though is super walkable. I guess if you're there for a weekend it's not necessary, but longer a car is a good idea. So speaking of time, how many days do you think you need in Luxembourg without feeling super rushed?
Super Rush is the way I want to travel now, in addition to the spas. Like you were saying, you get a little older, you want to enjoy things a little more. I would say at least 3 full days. Again, if you don't want to, unless you want to have one day where you just do all of the museums and all of the walking, it could be a little bit chaotic. It's better to leave time to also find things, like find a random unscheduled farmer's market or an antique fair. Sometimes they have them in the square. Go into all these different pastry shops. There's also like a whole shopping area that has its own little transit line that you can get on to go shopping, which is really fun. So I would say for the Luxembourg city itself, 3 full days would be ideal because there is also quite a lot to eat and drink. And you can go to a random comedy show on the ground. It might not be funny, but it might be funny.
It's like fun though.
For open mic, they have an English open mic there. But also, you need probably a day or two to do castles if that's what you want to do. And if you're into nature and outdoors, there are some really beautiful forests out there. So you can actually go for some really cool light hikes, not necessarily anything difficult, to see some really interesting waterfalls and natural pools of water. So that would be another day or two. And then, of course, the wineries. So we could be looking at 5 to 7 days, depending on how many day trips you're looking to do.
Which I think it's a nice sweet spot too, especially for us being like in the East Coast. I know I don't think there's any direct flights out of Newark, but I know there are direct flights leaving out of like JFK. So we are fortunate that we're able to kind of travel there. And the flight itself is not so bad. It's about like what, like maybe 9 hours.
Something like
So I
that.
feel like a week it's like a nice sweet spot, especially like someone for myself. I work a corporate job, so I have limited PTO that I can use. So if I can travel to a destination and still find a lot of things to do within a week, I feel like for me at least that's ideal.
Mhm. And honestly, if you were also looking to do, a longer trip, if you wanted to do one of your big 2 week trips, like a lot of people tend to do with Europe, you can tuck on Germany on one side and, for example, spend a few days in Trier on Massal too, which is a really cool wine city. They do wine festivals out there. They do a really fun town square wine pop up in the summer where you could just get a glass of wine and walk around and eat peaches by the fountains. Or Champagne is actually only a 3 hour drive from
Ooh, very
center
cool.
Luxembourg City.
It's like, there you go, people. Like, you just planned their whole itinerary. It's like, you just got to book it.
Mhm.
Which sounds amazing. I know last year I did my very first Christmas market. So we actually went to Copenhagen and we had like a girls trip. We were there for a short period of time, maybe about 5 days or so. But now I'm like kind of obsessed with the Christmas markets and I'm like, all right, where can I go to like next? So would you say Luxembourg would be a good destination? Like what other seasonal festivals throughout the year can our listeners kind of expect?
You got it with the Christmas markets because they have 5 in that small town.
Wow.
There's 5.
Okay, I'm sold.
The 5 Christmas markets.
Wine,
That's
Christmas.
pretty awesome.
So the entire December, some of them are smaller than others. Obviously, there are two that are like quite large. There is the main sort of area where the Golden Lady stands, their freedom statue. Very thin, tall, beautiful lady. And so around it, they build the entire Christmas market, and they bring in different kind of like food and drink vendors. They build entire kind of buildings with moving parts in them, and um, like windmills and Santa Clauses and everything. And you can do a deposit on a mug, wherever you get it for something like this. And then you could just go around and like drink wine, drink beer, or they have these like specialty hot beverages that will set on fire for you. And people kind of treat them like bars, like seasonal bars. So they're not really tourism attractions. So you can go in there and just like hang out with friends or pick up some groceries from an Italian butcher. It's a weird mix.
Fun though.
It really is.
You've convinced me.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I mean, I always see like the pictures of the Christmas markets and they just look absolutely spectacular. And what's nice about Europe, like if you can't make the Christmas markets, like different festivals seem to like randomly pop up throughout the year. Like when I went to Strasbourg, a place that's really known for its Christmas markets, I was there in Easter and they had an Easter market that was really super cute and fun. So, in addition to the Christmas markets, are there any other like cool seasonal events that happen in Luxembourg at other times of the year?
They do. They have different events all throughout the year. There are different kind of music events, free and not free, some ticketed kind of like large festivals that will be in the ground and outside. They have quite a few seasonal markets. If you like farmers market, I do. Is that I like to eat as well,
Oh yeah, me too.
much like you.
Me too.
So fresh farm vegetables is something that I'm always down for. The big one for them is the National Day in Luxembourg, which is on June 23rd. And so that's when the Grand Duchy will be in town. They'll be doing celebrations. There will be fireworks. Oh my gosh, the Grand Duke. There we go. The Grand Duke's birthday is also always a big celebration. I think last year was probably the biggest one. I wasn't there for it, but my sister was telling me about how huge the celebrations were, and the whole family comes in town. So it's something that the locals really enjoy because they do love their leadership, it seems. So I definitely recommend coming for something like that if you're interested in a little bit of a historic event. And there are across the country 3 wine related events throughout the wine season.
Ooh,
So you
let's
can go
hear
like
it.
I know. I was
right?
like, I got to write this down.
Exactly. So there is the wine taste and enjoy, which happens in May in across the wine region. So you can go into different wineries and do different tastings and do different tours. They also have the Riesling Open, which basically is that you're gonna hang out, dress up, and drink a bunch of Riesling in different open cellars, and naturally Cremant and Culture. So you're gonna drink the sparkling wine and learn about different things. And that one is a free event in the city.
That
They
sounds
all
nice.
sound amazing. Sounds like a ton of fun. Now, would you say there's a particular time of the year that you would recommend for our listeners?
Shoulder season, I would say. I mean, you of course can go in the summer as well, but a lot of Europe travels across Europe as well in the summer. So my preference is always to go April, May, or maybe September, October. That way you get enough greenery or you get a color change starting to be in the fall. It's going to be a little bit less busy. The hotels will be a bit more affordable, but you still have a lot of different options of activities.
Now, are there any, I know it's kind of a landlocked country, right? But are there any areas known for like maybe like water activities for somebody like the outdoors?
Not a ton. It's just mostly kind of like rivers and hikes and waterfalls, but not necessarily water activities. At least none that I've come across for.
I know Rachel likes her kayaking, so
Yeah. Yeah.
just in case,
Yeah.
you want to kayak and then go drink some wine.
Yeah, I do love kayaking, but I also do love my shopping. So I know like you talked like earlier about like shopping in Luxembourg City. It does seem like a really great place to shop. And my friend is going to take me to her favorite bookstore there. I'm so super excited. Is there any like one particular area that I should go to if I'm looking to like, spend my money on some souvenirs?
Yes, definitely. So within the town center in the downtown in the Luxembourg Center, there are a ton of different shops. There is also a central kind of like a shopping mall. It's the big one. It's about 4 or 5 stories high. So you can spend a lot of your money on clothing there, but you can also take the elevator up and you get a really nice view on the city. And they do different restaurant pop-ups there. So last year there was a Veuve Clicquot, pop up, so you can like sit on that roof with all of your shopping bags and have a glass of Veuve, which I'm again always here for. But if you like to take food gifts home, I've had the best madeleines actually in Luxembourg. There is a shop called Leah Linster, and she works there. She's a very opinionated lady, but quite friendly, and she literally makes the best madeleines I've ever tried. They're soft on the inside, caramelly on the outside. You
I
can buy
love
a box and
madeleines.
take
Oh
it
my
home with
gosh.
you.
Sounds delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Add
And
that
it's
to your list, Rachel,
Yeah.
of things you have to bring back for me.
Yes.
exactly. And honestly, their shop is the Leah Linster shop is near the Grand Ducal Palace. So again, you can go in, get a latte, get a glass of champagne, and a bunch of madeleines, and sit and watch the traffic in the Grand Ducal Palace.
Sounds so nice. Like just listening to it, and like again, I've been there once before. I remember it just being a very like relaxed place. Like with you're saying with like all the wine. I remember we sat at this little wine bar, and there was this woman, and she was super dressed up, and she was our waitress. She had this like really cool like frames. Her hair was styled really nice, and my mom was like, "I want to look like her. Like she just looks like so put together, so impeccable." And I just, like I said, remember it being such a relaxed place. So would you say it's also like really good for solo travel in that aspect? Because we have a lot of listeners who like to travel solo.
It is relaxed, and you will definitely feel safe. As far as like social interactions, that it can be a little bit tricky because the diversity of the city also means that not a lot of people live there. Like a lot of people actually commute there day to day. So some people live in France and just come to work in Luxembourg, which sounds insane, but is actually much closer than my closest IKEA from downtown Toronto. So you wouldn't necessarily meet a ton of new friends, but you can make friends with the local bartenders and such, and still like make the best of your night.
Yeah, I feel like bartenders are like my best buddies when I travel solo. They always have the best tips.
Exactly.
They know the good spots. And I feel like it's good too for someone who's maybe traveling solo for the first time or going to Europe, because it sounds like it's a little bit more manageable than going to other larger countries. So, at least from that perspective, I feel like it's a great place if someone's looking to like adventure. Like we said, we're ready. Like, I'm always ready for a trip, a new destination. But for some of our listeners that maybe they're not convinced just yet, what would you say to them to get them to just book that trip and finally make their way to Luxembourg?
I'll say book that trip, book maybe a few tours. You can go on a food tour, meet some people through that, go and try different places if you don't like dining alone. Bring a good book for the dining alone bit or sit at the bar. And then if you don't want to rent a car, you can always join a different group trip that will take you into the wineries, that will take you out into the woods and so on and see the castles. So you can kind of like have your solo time when you're ready, but then go out and do things with other people on group tours.
Yeah, that's always like a really good way to meet other travelers. Like I always feel like food tours especially are really good for that because everybody's social over food. Like no one's going to be antisocial and grouchy when there's delicious food right there.
Only cool people go on food tours, is my opinion.
We agree.
Yeah. So if you could describe Luxembourg in 3 words to convince someone who's never like, thought about visiting, what words would you pick?
I will pick unique, beautiful, and delicious.
Unique, beautiful, and delicious.
I'm telling you, I'm sold. I'm like, you had me at the first wine. Like
So much
we're
wine.
so ready to go. But also too, I'm a little bit curious in terms of some of our listeners that are traveling that obviously don't speak the language. Do you think it would be a little bit difficult for them to kind of navigate and communicate when they're if English is like their main language?
Not really, no. It is a very bilingual country. I mean, if you go into, a very small town, they might only speak Journal, but the city center and majority of popular areas, they on average speak 4 to 5 languages. So there will be English, French, German, some Luxembourgish, some Dutch. So pretty much all of them will speak English. I've had situations where I was in a grocery store and I would speak in English and they would speak to me in German, and the shopping was very successful.
We always find a way to communicate. That's what I love about traveling. It's like sometimes even if it's sign language, like you'll figure it out.
So true. Yeah, I remember like the language not being too big of an issue when I was there. And like you said, people speak so many different languages. I attempted to speak French a couple times there and they were really sweet. Eventually we just switched to English because my French is like not that great, but there's always like a way to communicate as long as you're like nice and open minded. And then of course, like Google Translate does make life a lot easier as well.
Yeah. And, multiple language menus.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm already like mentally there. So if you had 24 hours in Luxembourg City, can you describe the perfect like day in the city? Because I do miss it.
Perfect day in the city. I would start with a nice breakfast somewhere small and local in the city center in a little cafe. They have the chain of the restaurants that make the pastries. There are 3 or 4 of them in the city. So I'd start there, have my pastry with Riesling jelly, and then go to either the Luxembourg City History Museum or to Mudam to go a little bit out there further, and then walk around the ground for a little view. Walk myself over into the Grand Ducal Palace Square, take some pictures, sit down and have a Madeleine. And then, depending on how I'm feeling, either go shopping before dinner or take one of their super cool streetcars that look a little bit like spaceships into one of the really large parks to walk around, look at some flowers, maybe walk into an art gallery near there. And a lot of the times in the bigger parks, they will have kind of like summer installations where you can sit down, look at some art, or even like listen to some DJs. And so maybe come out there and read a book and get again a glass of wine and listen to a DJ.
It sounds so perfect too, because it sounds like very like slow pace and very relaxed, which is like totally like up my speed. Kind of like Rachel, I kind of like to just, travel, but kind of enjoy the destination and just really get to enjoy the scenery and just try all the amazing local foods and the local wine. So it sounds like the ideal day.
Yeah, I'm so jealous. I want to go to one of those parks right now and just sit with my book. Rosa and I, we love books, and we recently went to BookCon in New York, and you'll see it on my Instagram. I bought a stack of books that's taller than my face, and I like need to read them because I like look at them like I spent all this money. I better read them. So I feel like that's just like the perfect place to go to the park, look at the flowers, have my glass of wine, and make a dent in all of those books that I bought.
I hope you didn't. Where did you say it was? I hope you didn't have to check a bag for all of the books.
No, thankfully it was right.
Almost.
Thankfully it was right in New York City, so I just have to take a train home. But if it had been, I know Rosa actually I think sent me the reel today. There's also a festival in Los Angeles all about books. If it had been the LA Festival of Books, I think I would have been checking another bag with United.
We would have been in trouble.
There are a few big book fairs in Europe, just saying.
Yes, oh yes. I need to go to Europe just for the book fairs, but then again, I'll be checking another bag with United, but that's okay. I mean anything for books.
Exactly. I'm a regular in my local library because I'm trying not to buy more stuff for the house.
See, at least you're smart.
Yeah. Yeah,
We're
support your
just piling on. But
support
I
your
always
local
like
library. Support
Yeah.
your local library.
supporting our orders, so why not?
So what do you say, Rose? You want to do some rapid fire questions?
Let's do it. Are you ready, Kateryna?
Let's go.
All right. So cobblestone streets of Luxembourg City or the rolling countryside villages?
Cobblestones.
There's a lot like the way that you describe the perfect day in the city, like I'm sold, like art museums, book, park, glass of wine.
I know I'd be torn to choose between the two though, because the rolling countryside villages, it sounds so charming.
They would have to be a different day because then you would have to kind of get your maybe like cute yoga pants on or whatever your go-to hiking kit is and go on a little bit more of an adventure and see some waterfalls and then see the countryside.
Deal. It's like work up so I can drink my wine and feel like I've accomplished something all day.
Exactly. It's a reward.
Exactly. So what would you say? Luxury stay in a boutique hotel in the capital or a cozy countryside inn?
Do I have to choose?
We can have
Can I have
both. Like,
both?
you're there for a week, so half and half.
Can I have one on Friday, one on Saturday?
There you go.
There you go.
So both worlds.
Yeah, because it is true. There is something about like a nice like little inn that's very romantic, but then like staying in like a bougie boutique hotel, I can like pretend that I'm rich and famous or something.
Exactly. With the small inns, that you will always find the best local pub where you will be a regular by the end of the evening.
Yes, yes. There's something like really special about a local pub. And I feel like that's really awesome if you're a solo traveler because those small local pubs, people just want to like talk to you.
Mhm.
All right. So speaking of pubs, would you rather go for a local white wine or a local beer?
Wine. Definitely
Yeah.
wine.
All those
Same.
wineries, you could spend a day just going to all those wineries. It's like amazing.
You definitely can and should.
Now, this is a fun one. Luxembourg chocolate or French pastries smuggled across the border. Why are we smuggling goods?
I know. Well, the thing is, you could just bring them back. I'm like,
Exactly.
like smuggling what? Like,
But I'm kind of intrigued. Like, what kind of pastries are we smuggling from France?
Okay, I actually do have a little story about this. Well, I was gonna.
let's hear it. Let's
love
hear
it.
Story time.
I mean, if I had to choose immediately, I would choose a Luxembourgish Madeleine, which is neither. But when you drive to Champagne from Luxembourg, you pass a few local French grocery stores, and they're like large big box stores. And I love going into those just to see what they have and what their different snacks look like and what their charcuterie boxes look like. Very different than ours. A lot of pate, a lot of terrine, really good stuff. I am going currently through my gummy candy phase, and they had some on the shelf at this grocery store. They were just like all kinds of different colors and very sugary candy, but they looked really fresh. And my sister kept insisting that I shouldn't be eating junk, and I just really wanted to buy them. So now we're both addicted to gummy candies, but very picky because we haven't been able to find anything that like would even compare to these French grocery store candies.
So now you need a trip back and get those gummies.
I do.
Rachel,
Yeah.
you're going to have to take a luggage and just bring us all the goods.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna need to bring like 5 bags.
We'll
on
make
this
you a
trip.
list. Customs are going to be like, so what are you bringing back to the States, Miss Miller?
I'll be like, do you want to know how much time do you have? Do you really want to talk to me about this? Be breaking out like wine with border control. Be like, let's talk over a drink and we'll get through this laundry list of crap that I brought back.
I love it though. So for our listeners that maybe they're still not convinced, what would you tell them aside from just book that trip to get them to inspire to finally check this off their bucket list?
It's time to try something new. Everybody goes to Paris, everybody goes to London. They're big, they're beautiful, but they're also incredibly crowded. And this way you'll have a more unique and interesting story and an ability to explore something at a slower pace with free transit.
Love the free transit. That means
do
you can
too.
spend more money on wine or gummies.
Exactly.
I like that you said that they look like spaceships. Like, I'm intrigued now just to see like the transit there. Like, I mean, it's
They're kind of
free
like
spaceships.
caterpillars. They're shaped like the standard caterpillars, but they have
Mhm.
the different glow and glowy things inside, and they will be like purple or green, and they will be different all throughout the color. It's really fun.
It sounds fun. Rachel, you have to do it.
Yes, yes. It's like going into space, but for free and no scary takeoff.
There you go. But Kateryna, thank you so much for all of your amazing tips. Where can our listeners find you so they can learn more about some of your epic adventures?
The easiest way would be to find me on Instagram at Kateryna with 2 R's.
Amazing.
Perfect. And we'll be sure to like link that in the show notes as well.
Thank you so much, Rachel and Rosa, for having me. I can't
Thank-
wait to see your adventure this summer.
Oh, yes, it's coming. It's coming. I was like thinking about it today. It's a Monday. I was like, oh man, soon, soon.
We got to make it happen. But thank you so much again for being on the show. And that is a wrap on our Luxembourg episode, besties. So, Kateryna, thank you so much for taking us through the Grand Duchy from the cobblestone streets to the Mosaic wine. I think it's safe to say we all just added a new destination to our list. I know I definitely did. If you want to follow along on Kateryna's adventures, go check her out at passtotravel.com and quipmag.com, and we'll make sure to also link her social media accounts on here. Trust us, your Wanderlust and credit card. Well, thank you. Well, maybe not your credit card, but you can still get those points, besties. So if you love today's episode, share with a friend who needs a new travel obsession. We'll see you next time. And until then, keep dreaming, keep exploring, and keep those passports ready. Bon voyage, besties. We'll catch you on the next
Oh
one.
my gosh, time to go to Luxembourg City. See you.
Bring back those pastries.
Yes.